Hello and welcome to News Today. Coming up, first Vice National Chairman of the new Patriotic Party to contest the national chairmanship position of the party. Also ahead, Deputy Secretary General urges Kenya and Somalia not to relent in the battle against Somali militant group Al-Shabaab. I'll bring you details of these stories and plenty more in a bit. My name is Kimini Nyamani Amano. You're watching News Today. The 1910 building which killed one and injured another has been pulled down by the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly to avert any future uncertainty. One person was killed while another severely injured last Tuesday when part of the building at Idum fell on them. The deceased and his colleague were scavenging for steel beam inside the weak building when the incident occurred. As part of efforts to prevent similar occurrences, Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly has finally demolished the weak structure which was gutted by fire barely 3 months ago. According to the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, it would not relent in pulling down similar structures in the metropolis. We apologize for that terrible visual, and let's move on to some other stories. And former Attorney General and Minister of Justice Nia Ikwe-Uti says he is working hard to clinch the next national chairman position of the new Patriotic Party after the expiration of the current executives. According to Ikwe-Uti, his chairman, who is chairman of the Constitutional Committee of the party, he has marketed himself well enough. He was addressing members of the University of Cape Coast chapter of the party's tertiary students' confederacy.
Ikwe-Uti is the latest to have publicly declared interest in becoming a national executive member of the new Patriotic Party. He pointed out that apart from serving the party at various levels, he also has the clout to lead it to victory in 2016. To him, his participation in party activities and high-level committees he had chaired, coupled with his legal maturity exhibited during the famous Sir John Supreme Court encounter, has turned him into a household name. Lawyer Ikwe-Uti asked the students to put the 2012 elections behind them and forge ahead more than ever to enable the party capture political power. The MPP's legal committee chairman bemoaned the deep-seated factions that, according to him, led to their defeat in the 2008 elections and warned such moves will rip the party apart should they shelve it and pretend it does not exist.
Sometimes we sweep some of them under the carpet, believing that they will go away. By propaganda, you just keep on talking about falsehood, you repeat it several times, and then it's taken to be the truth. So why should we ignore them for them to continue to say things about us? This idea of, for example, Asante and Achim Party, when indeed we win seats in almost all the regions in Ghana, and yet a great impression that all the seats we win are only in Asante and Achim, which is not true.
Legal practitioner Dr. Maurice Ampao posited that the failure of the Chief Justice of the Republic to preside over the election petition was disappointing and unconstitutional.
She has risen from the district court right to the Supreme Court, and its failure to preside over the election petition has denied us the opportunity to hear a side of the legal opinion as to the verdict, because under the Constitution, Article 128 plus 3 is mandated constitutionally to preside over the Supreme Court, and to hear this Lambert case, but a failure to do so is not only disappointing, but I think it's unconstitutional on their part, and it needs to explain to Ghanaians.
We'll stay with the MPP for a moment. And former Presidential Press Secretary to John Ajekunkufor, Kwabena Ajipong, has also indicated he will contest the General Secretary position of the party.
I think I bring a certain skill set. You know, I have been Press Secretary to the President for 6 years, so I think I have a little modest knowledge of communications and how to communicate with the world, having run the Presidency's communications. I have run Akufo-Addo's campaign in 1998. I have run Shematin's campaign in 2010. I have run my own campaign in 2007. So when we talk about field operations around the country, knowing the constituencies into detail, so I'm also strong on the field operations. You understand? And I can also say in all humility that if you're looking for those who have worked in electoral reform from 1992 and have represented the party at IPAC and then in the strong room from 1996, 2000, 2004 and all that. So I have also a strong background in electoral processes. So you have elections, I have a reasonably good knowledge, communications and field operations. So I think I have a skill set that I'm sure would bring me a certain competitive edge, and that can help me drive the party forward. After all, I mean, elections or parties are about your machinery first, and a good message. It is the machinery that will carry the message. Even if you have a good message and you don't have a good machinery, it's going to end up somewhere. So I'm very, very confident that our party people would not forget my toils of the past. I want to take power back to them. There should be devolution of power from the center to the constituencies. I'm traumatized to hear that as we speak, poor constituency chairmen are being asked to come and pay a deposit of 1,000 Ghana to be able to take polling station forms to go and sell. If they take it and people don't buy it, what happens? It becomes their loss. I think the party should be sending that to the constituencies. That has to be the plan of our party, that the center should serve the communities, not the other way around. We have a situation where dues paid at the locality, at the constituencies, have been shipped to the party headquarters. That for me is wrong.
A pilot sport fine regime is now in effect in Accra, Tema and the Ashanti region. The policy is being implemented now after the police shelved it some time back, May this year. Director of Training and Research at the Motor Traffic and Transport Unit of the Ghana Police Service tells Shore News it has become necessary now in order to reduce motor accidents in the impending festive season.
In the Greater Accra region, the Motor Traffic and Transport Department says it will focus on some major routes, including the Obechebi-Lamte Circle to Winneba Road, the George Walker Bush Highway, or the N1 and Circle to Nswim Road. One of the challenges confronting the scheme is infrastructure to support the payment of fines and the likelihood it will lead to more corruption of police officers. But DSP Alexander Bing says incentives have been introduced to discourage corruption of officers.
We looked at all the arterial routes or the major roads that are converging in Accra. We're talking about, first of all, Accra Township. So all the corners. We're also looking at where normally crashes occur. And therefore, we are looking at Winneba Road between Obechebi roundabout right through Malam, through Kaswa. We are also looking at the N1. We're also looking at the Sound Road. We're talking about Kwame Nkrumah Circle right through to Nsawam. We are also looking at Legon Road. We are looking at from Tetekwashi right through to Adentan. That will bifurcate into two routes. We're talking about Adentan Ayimesa. We're talking about Adentan Dodoa. We're also looking at the motorway. We're also looking at the beach road. We're also looking at other adjoining roads within the Accra metropolitan area, where we have a lot of incidents of preventable road crashes, and also where we also have a lot of vehicles that do not comply with the rules and regulations, and drivers who also don't comply with rules and regulations that leads to these preventable crashes.
He added the MTTD is also poised to take charge of the traffic situation during the festive season.
What we're going to do with regard to the enforcement of the spot fine is that we've hinged it on ICT. That is that where a police officer has no option but to use a device that has the electronic data of the offender or the driver with regard to the person's license details at the DVLA. So instantly when the license number is imputed in the device, of which everything comes up automatically, and whatever offense that you have committed, a notice is generated and printed out instantly and given to you under 1 minute or 2 minutes, and the driver is not expected to pay any money to the police at the scene, but proceed to a pay point to go and redeem him or herself. Again,
he said though the MTTD missed its target for reducing motor accidents, they are stepping up their effort.
We have the history, and our statistics have shown over time that the last quarter of every year, because of sudden increase in road users, that has to do with vehicular population of pedestrians among others, including visitors who are normally not used to the jurisdiction, a lot of avoidable crashes occur. So our preparation has been that we will continue to build the capacity of our personnel. And the preparation gives them the right tools and for them to respond on a daily basis, to show their presence, to enforce the road law, and also continue with our partners to enhance lorry park sensitization and publicity in the mass media.
There's apparently a reward scheme for persons who are able to spot guinea worm cases, and a 45-year-old Philip Basigi has earned himself 400 Ghana cedis for spotting 2 cases at TAMPAALA in the Jarapa district of the Upper West region here in Ghana, and is on the verge of being certified by the World Health Organization to be guinea worm free, and any outbreak of the disease would jeopardize the process. That's the institution of this scheme. Rafiq Salam sent in this report from TAMPAALA in the Jarapa district.
The guinea worm disease is caused by drinking water contaminated by water fleas that host the Drancuculus larva. It thrives mainly in some of the world's poorest areas, particularly those with limited or no access to clean water. In these areas, stagnant water sources may still host cope pots, which can carry the larvae of the guinea worm. The larvae develop for approximately 2 weeks inside the cope pots and can cause the disease if they are not filtered from drinking water. After 3 decades fighting the disease, and with the introduction of some major interventions, health officials have made remarkable progress. The Jarapa District Director of the Ghana Health Service, however, says the progress can be reversed unless interventions such as the cash reward scheme are put in place. Government distributed a 200 Ghana cedis reward for people who would be able to report new cases of the disease, for them to be immediately responded to.
He's always hung to the picture around, on his neck, and he goes around from house to house, even in drinking baths, just to educate people that if they find any guinea worm case or suspected guinea worm, they should report. And then a couple of months ago, he got a suspected guinea worm case. We came, we picked the samples and everything is been sent to Atlanta. Well, we have been given feedback that it's not guinea worm, it's a tissue. But that also shows that surveillance is going on and that people are looking out for it. He got a second case, suspected case. We came again. The samples have also been carried down for investigations. And as the government has, publicized, if you find any suspected guinea worm case, you have a cash reward of 200 Ghana cedis.
Community volunteer Philip Suri Basigi, the first beneficiary in the Jirapa district, has been duly rewarded for his efforts. But the district health director says he must not rest on his oars. A grateful Philip Suri Basigi says the reward will spur him on. Rafiq Salam's report.
Turn attention to the Volta region, and work has begun on the dredging of the underpass of the bridge on River Toji at Adaklu Vaya in the Volta region. The dredging brings great relief to the people of Adaklu and its surrounding communities, who for years have had to suffer flooding due to the silting of the underpass. Senior Divisional Chief of the Adaklu Traditional Area, TODAY Tiananmen IV, said the dredging is just the first of a series of projects to signal all-round development in the district.
TODAY Tiananmen IV was speaking to Joy News after leading about 20 chiefs and queens from the Adaklu Traditional Area to inspect the dredging works initiated by the Adaklu District Assembly, an area he says has a chronic problem of underdevelopment and poverty. The silting of 8 of the 10 passageways of the bridge, according to TODAY Tiananmen, tends to cut off the predominantly farming communities from markets in the Kachi South and North districts, Ho and other market centers each time the area experiences a heavy downpour.
This bridge was made in the colonial days. You can see the structure. You see that it's an old structure, and all the ways have been blocked. So this has been causing a lot of, when there's time of flood, it casts the rest of the communities from the capital where we are now. And then most dangerously, some of our citizens have been getting drowned.
TODAY Tiananmen at a media briefing said a tourist industry could be built around the Adaklu Mountains, said to be volcanic and home to vast game reserves with rare animals and birds. He promised the chiefs individual and collective support to the district chief executive and member of parliament in any effort to open up the district. He however lamented the poor state of the roads in the district he says need to be fixed. Adaklu district, a predominantly farming area, was one of those created in 2012.
You're watching News Today. I'll be right back. Many thanks for staying on. The Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority has justified payments made to Suba Info Solutions, an IT firm engaged to monitor and verify for tax purposes certain claims made by the country's telecom companies on their call traffic, insisting that it had a legitimate contract with government to render those services. George Blankson, at a news conference on the latest scandal involving the authority, however confirmed that the company had been paid 74 million Ghana cedis and not 144 million as had been reported. He maintains calls for him to resign over the scandal are misplaced.
The GRA Commissioner General said the contract with Suba Info Solutions had been duly engaged for a period of 5 years from May 2010, adding that the payments made out to the company had ministerial backing.
In making the calculations and also in making the payment and determining the payment to be made, we were very, very meticulous in following a procedure that would ensure credibility of the payment, to the extent that no payment, no single payment was made without seeking ministerial approval for that particular payment. It's all on record.
The media reports had suggested that the company had been paid even though it had not fully discharged its obligations. But the GRA boss said the company could not be faulted on that score due to impediments they encountered beyond their control.
This is a situation where to go into the records, which in this case is an electronic record of all the calls, to go through that, you must be able to have the expertise and the equipment to track each one of the calls and eventually to establish that this is the situation, that the companies are not declaring what they should declare. You should be able to do that. But GRA, like most revenue authorities in the world, has not got neither the equipment nor expertise. So what revenue authorities do and this you can check worldwide, is to hire a company that has the equipment and the expertise to do that as an agent of the tax administration.
He told journalists, though he witnessed the signing of the contract, he wasn't involved in the process before then, and so could not answer questions as to why Suba Info Solutions was chosen.
The agreement is between the SY Revenue Agencies Governing Board and the Suba. It's not even the GRA. So at the time that I took office, the process had virtually been concluded. And when it was signed, I just witnessed it. So it had been done before I came into office. What I did was to ensure that had it gone through all the due processes, it wasn't within my purview to justify. And in any case, I was not the one signing it.
Reacting to calls for him to step down over the scandal, he maintained he had done no wrong.
Has been applied.
So staying with that particular question.
Meanwhile, Vice President of Policy Think Tank Imani Ghana, Kofi Bentil, says the Commissioner General for the Ghana Revenue Authority should bear the ultimate responsibility of the monies wrongly paid to Suba Info Solutions. According to him, the current situation where people in authority fail to take responsibility for acts that happen under their watch is unacceptable. And Kofi Bentil has joined us over the telephone. We'll find out quickly why Judge Blankson should take the brunt for this. Hello, Kofi.
Hello.
Why so? Why should Judge take the brunt for all of this?
Because he's the chief executive of the GRA. He is paid to make sure that these things do not happen. He is paid to take responsibility for these things. He is paid to run that organization. Nobody else has that responsibility.
Kofi, Judge has said that this process was completed before he took office, and he only made sure that due process had been done. It was not in his purview to stop the process. Do we still want to put the responsibility on him?
Yes, it has to be so. Anybody who understands management knows that when you take charge of an institution, you take stock. And when you take stock of the institution, you deal with everything as if you are in charge because you are in charge. You should never say that, well, this happened before my time. Well, what have you done all the time you've been here? If we wanted everything to remain the same, the old person will probably be the same person there. So it is still not a good excuse to say, oh, this happened before my time, and I have done nothing about it. If it was happening before your time and you came into office and you were up to your task, you would have, identified it and stopped it. So seriously, I mean, I don't know how come they come up with these excuses. And it's worrying to me that they even think they are valid excuses. It is such a bad excuse to say it was started before me. What have you done to stop it?
Many thanks, Kofi. Kofi Bentil is with his Vice President of Policy Think Tank, Imani Ghana. Let's move on to some other stories briefly. And Ghana is undergoing rapid urbanization and economic growth, but urbanization has been accompanied by poor urban governance, which experts say could increase levels of poverty and cause a rise in crime and violence. The Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research has urged government and policymakers to increase efforts at reducing urban violence and crime, especially in urban Ghana. The group who launched the Crime and Poverty Nexus policy aimed at challenging policymakers to implement it, say crime and poverty is on the rise in the country. The Crime and Poverty Nexus in Urban Ghana project, launched by ASA, is in collaboration with the Ghana Police Service and partners from Canada, which seeks to map and highlight the main types of crime experienced in urban Ghanaian neighborhoods. Let's move on to some other stories. And Apple has reported a fourth-quarter profit of $7.5 billion, beating analysts' expectations, although iPhone sales surged 26% to 33.8 million. Profits slid from a third consecutive quarter as margins fell. On an annual basis, though, Apple ended its fiscal year with its first earnings decline in 11 years as net profit slipped to $37 billion. Nonetheless, Apple boss Tim Cook insisted that business was stronger than ever on an earnings call. India's new central bank governor has raised interest rates for the second consecutive month by 1/4 of 1% to 7.75% to try to fight inflation. The move applies only to the repo rate, the rate at which the central bank lends to commercial banks. The cash reserve ratio, the percentage of the bank's deposits they must keep in cash, has been kept unchanged. India's deflation hit a 7-month high annual rate of 6.4% in September. News Today returns shortly. Welcome back. In news from across the globe, the UN Special Envoy in the Democratic Republic of Congo has told the organization's Security Council that the M23 rebel movement is all but finished as a military threat. Martin Kobler says the M23 had abandoned most military positions in the east and was confined to a small triangle close to the Rwandan border. A fifth rebel held area in a week fell to government forces on Monday. The rebels say that their withdrawals are temporary. Kobler said the rebels had abandoned a key position on Mount Hehu near the Rwandan border. Peace talks between the government and M23 hosted by neighboring Uganda broke down last week. There had previously been about 2 months of relative calm in eastern DR Congo. UN Deputy Secretary General John Ellison has urged Kenyans and Somalis not to relent in the battle against Somali militant group Al-Shabaab. The group continues to threaten and attack security forces and civilians in both countries.
As Kenya and Somalia plot out ways to fight terrorism and subdue Al-Shabaab, UN Deputy Secretary General John Ellison says the terrorist threat is not only about killing and destruction, but also a threat to basic rights of the people. Kenya has boosted security in Nairobi shopping malls following text messages sent to shoppers warning them to keep away from some upscale shopping centers. Last month, Al-Shabaab carried out its deadliest attack on Kenyan soil at the Westgate shopping mall in Nairobi, killing more than 60 civilians and injuring about 175. Meanwhile, sources in Somalia say a suspected U.S. drone strike has killed a key operative of the militant group Al-Shabaab. Witnesses say Ibrahim Ali Abdi, the mastermind of Al-Shabaab's suicide missions, was killed Monday when a drone fired 3 missiles at the car he was traveling in.
Now, pressure is growing on the White House to explain U.S. intelligence gathering and why President Barack Obama appeared not to know the extent of operations. The intelligence agency head and other officials are to testify before the House of Representatives later. The chair of the Senate's Intelligence Committee said there would be a total review of U.S. spying programs. The president has spoken publicly of his intent to probe spying activities amid claims of eavesdropping on allies. An EU delegate in Washington has described the row over intelligence gathering as a breakdown of trust.
The work that's being done here saves lives and protects the United States and protects our allies and protects Americans stationed in very dangerous places around the world.
Have one purpose, and that is to make sure that the American people are safe and that I'm making good decisions, and I'm the final user of all the intelligence that they gather. But they're involved in a whole wide range of issues, and we give them policy direction, but what we've seen over the last several years is their capacities continue to develop and expand, and that's why I'm initiating now a review to make sure that what they're able to do doesn't necessarily mean what they should be doing.
We'll make a quick stop now in Asia, and police in China have named 2 suspects linked to a major incident in Beijing after a deadly car crashed into Tiananmen Square. The vehicle crashed into a crowd and burst into flames, killing 5 people. Police subsequently issued a notice to hotels in Beijing seeking information about 2 people from the province. The note also described a vehicle and 4 number plates from the scene of sporadic violent incidents. State-run Xinhua news agency said Of the 5 people who died on Monday, 3 people died inside the car and 2 tourists were killed. Another 38 people were injured. Police shut down the scene of the incident at the north end of the square at an entrance to the Forbidden City shortly after it occurred, temporarily closing a subway station and a road. There has been no official statement on the cause of this incident. That's it for the segment. When we return, Rashida Baba Kadiri will bring us some sports news.
You're live on Joy. You're live on Joy News today on Multi TV. My name is Rashida Baba Kadiri. Thanks for staying tuned to the sports segment, which is proudly sponsored by Tigo. Smell, you've got Tigo. Now, we are sure in the next few hours or in the next few days, FIFA would be making a ruling on whether Ghana would have to play the return leg with Egypt ahead of the 2014 World Cup in Cairo, or they will have to play at a neutral ground. I have on the line A's sports journalist or A's broadcast journalist, AMPOFO ANKRAH. He's also a special aide to the Minister of Youth and Sports, Honorable Elvis Efi ANKRAH. AMPOFO ANKRAH joins me on phone. Hello, Yao. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yeah, I'm sure you've been listening round, and by now we are all sitting on tenterhooks waiting for what Blatter and his men are going to say as to whether we'll play that return leg in Cairo or on neutral grounds. I mean, ahead of this announcement, what are the expectations? What's going on in the ministry?
Well, I think we're just waiting on FIFA, as you've rightly said, and we expect the basis will be the consideration, whether it's England, that's on the other side, whether it's Ghana, whether it's Argentina. They just need to look at it. Look, will you allow any other team to go to Cairo to play Egypt under these circumstances? Remove Ghana from the equation, and if you allow any other team to go, then we should go to Cairo without fear or favor. But if it is that, you know, FIFA would not allow a team like Brazil, Argentina, England or Spain to play against Egypt in these circumstances, that same consideration or those same considerations should be the deciding factors to decide whether or not Cairo is safe for the Black Stars.
Right, yeah, and I'm sure you've been, definitely, there are some few bits and pieces of information that you've been sniffing around. Have you indeed heard if indeed FIFA has heard from Egypt, if they've indeed sent any documents saying that, okay, we're sure we can keep Ghana safe when they come to Cairo? Have you heard any such thing?
Officially, there's nothing that's come through. I mean, the Ghana Football Association will be the first to be officially notified, and they would then correspond that to the Ghana media. But as I speak to you, I have not had any indication of such. Yesterday, remember, was the deadline for Egypt to provide assurances, and I'm sure that has been done. That was done actually before the deadline. So it behoves on FIFA to now take a decision. So today, perhaps, maybe tomorrow, by close of day latest, we should hear it. But we could hear that sooner than the close of day.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time this afternoon on Sports on Joy News today. And that
My
was
pleasure, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And that was A Sports broadcast journalist AMPOFO ANKRAH speaking to us there on the issue, the expectation ahead of FIFA's announcement as to whether Ghana would have to play Egypt in the second leg of that 2014 World Cup qualifier in Cairo, or indeed it will be moved to a neutral ground. So remember that yesterday was the deadline for Egypt to submit a document to FIFA assuring them of Ghana's safety if the match would indeed be held in Cairo. So we would keep you updated on whatever whatever transpires between FIFA and the Ghana Football Association, as well as FIFA and the Egypt FA. But rumors making the rounds have it that Egypt, they have submitted a comprehensive document to the World Football Governing Body stating that they are ready to secure the entire Ghanaian team if indeed they do get to Cairo during, before and after the match. But let's see what happens. Let's see how it unfolds. Away from that, let's get into the subject of boxing. Now, there's a measure that has been put in place to ensure that there will be up-and-coming boxers that will be groomed to fill in the spaces that will be left by those who are currently in the helm of affairs, talking about the likes of Joseph Agbeko, Joshua Clottey, Frederick Okunkalos, and all of those boxers gradually will be fading fading out. So there has been a measure that has been put in place to ensure that when they fade out, there will be a new generation of boxers who would indeed go out and take on the world in the name of Ghana to raise high the flag of the country. Now, this is going to happen on the back of a professional boxing league that will be staged here in Ghana or here in Accra. Former Ghana Boxing Authority President, Chairman Moses Fuamwini has been speaking on Joy Sports to Joy Sports on this issue.
I can tell you that it's all about the packaging. How did we succeed with the Mountain Boxing League? It is how we presented ourselves. And I think that when it comes to, brands, they always want to associate with success. The good thing is boxing in Ghana, as I've said, we already have the success available. And even currently, there's a world champion. People speak as if we don't have a world champion, but we do have a world champion because there was a world title fight staged here in Ghana.
Yeah, Joseph Agbeko, yeah.
Exactly, but people don't talk about it. And I've had, I was interviewed, but I'm interviewed on about at least 10 radio stations every day, and they start by saying, lawyer, we don't have world champions, and I have to correct that. It shows that the media itself is not abreast with the knowledge. So it's all about the packaging, because we already have the success, and most brands want to associate with the success. Question is the image, all right? The equipment, the way the boxers themselves sell themselves out there, the way they behave, and the way the administration itself is packaged. And I think one of the things that we managed to cross was all the upheaval. Now at least we have a constitution in place. There were elections and you were there. It was a huge milestone.
Former Ghana Boxing Authority Chairman Moses Fuamwini there. Now let's go back to the subject of football, and I'm sure by now the issue of racism is getting out of hand, and FIFA President Joseph Blatter says that he's really serious, he's really bent on doing this, fighting racism to the lowest minimum possible. And remember that in a recent match, UEFA Champions League match between Manchester City and CSKA Moscow in Russia, African or Ivorian player Yaya Toure suffered a racist abuse, and he is saying that FIFA is not doing well to ensure that racism is dealt with. But President of the World Football Governing Body says that he is bent on ensuring that racism is fought to the lowest, barest minimum.
FIFA President Sepp Blatter says football's world governing body will fail if it does not accept a zero-tolerance approach to racism. UEFA opened a disciplinary case against CSKA Moscow this week after Manchester City's Yaya Toure complained of being racially abused by their fans. FIFA's Jerome Valcke will meet Russia's World Cup 2018 officials in the next 48 hours to discuss the issue. A new anti-racism resolution passed by FIFA in May means teams can now be forced to play matches behind closed doors as punishment for incidents of racism, with stiffer penalties in place for repeat offenders. Blatter called for the zero-tolerance approach at a news conference in London, saying he had spoken to UEFA President Michel Platini at the Football Association's 150th anniversary dinner about the need for football's disciplinary committees to apply existing tougher sanctions. Blatter said implementing the new measures was not Platini's problem, and instead an issue on which national associations must be strong. Toure made his complaint about discrimination in midweek despite CSK's denial of any wrongdoing by supporters.
So stay tuned to all our platforms of Joy Sports on radio, on TV and online as we have details of these stories and more. My name is Rashida Baba Kadiri. Sports on News Today is brought to you by the canker of Tigo. Smile, you've got to go. The news is not done. We'll be back after this break.
You're welcome back, and we'll go back to our earlier story about the sport fine which is to be effected in Accra, Tema and the Ashanti region. If you recall, this was shelved by the police back in May this year. With me in the studio now is Director of Training and Research at the Motor Traffic and Transport Department of the Ghana Police Service, DSP Alexander Obeng. Many thanks for joining us on News Today.
Thank you.
Let's go over it again. Which are the areas that would experience this pilot program?
I think thank you very much and good afternoon. We are looking at Accra region.
Right.
We are looking at Tema region. We are looking at Ashanti region, and specifically Tema Township and the arterial routes that are feeding to Tema, same in Accra and Kumasi Township and the arterial routes that are traversing it. So these are the areas, police jurisdictions, where we pilot.
What is this arterial? I can't even get a word.
Well,
what is that?
Basically, if you are looking at ANKRAH, for example, we're looking at areas that crashes normally occur that turns out to be very fatal, mostly on. We look at Obechibe right through to Kaswa, on the Winneba route, for example. If you are looking at the N1 Tetekwashi Nkrumah motorway, we are looking at, for instance, Legon Road from Obechibe, Tetekwashi roundabout right through to Adentan. That will bifurcate into two road, Adentan Dodowa and Adentan Ayimesa. And these are some of the arterial routes we have, even particularly in ANKRAH. In ANKRAH alone. Because you see a lot of vehicles from the region, and at certain sections they are seen as highways, and at certain sections they are urban arterial, 50 km per hour speed, but people do commit a lot of infractions that endangers lives and property. So we're going to look at this and ensure that the black spots on our route are reinforced with police presence and other measures to deter drivers from engaging in risk behaviors that end them in preventable crashes.
This is meant to, increase discipline on our road, but what form will it take?
I think basically already these offences when committed, for instance now, you are arrested by a police officer and taken to court on a public forum, and I call it docket. You understand? And so when we start the actual implementation of the spot fine, instead of going to court to receive your punishment, the parliament has ceded some of the court powers to police, and it ranges between 60 Ghana cedis to 180 Ghana cedis, depending on the number of offences you have committed. And therefore, when you commit these offences and you are cited by police, you are issued with an instant punishment. And that punishment is what's called a spot fine. And so you're given a chit? Yes, a notice that gives you a special code that you have committed this offense, and it is known to only you. Go to a pay point and redeem yourself. And that is what is it. And in the process of going through this, it's expected that it will deter, it will change attitude, and it will ensure that people's roadcraft will improve and avoid committing basic road traffic offences that are not expected of road users, particularly motorists.
What if an offender does not pay after taking the chit?
Basically, the law says everybody has 24 hours to redeem him or herself. Therefore, if you don't, the system is such that immediately you are issued with the notice. It is ICT based, so your data is what do you call in the database, and it is against your name that you haven't paid within the 24 hours, and therefore automatically generates warrant of arrest.
But we don't have a central database. I could give you wrong information.
Oh, that is not at all, because when I said that it is ICT based, that all drivers in particular, Ghana has their database in terms of the license register, which is kept by DVLA. And as far as we are concerned, as of today, they have the electronic form of it, and therefore with the device that we are using, we just only enter your certificate of competence on your license, and your picture and your data that you provided at the primary point when you were applying for license will instantly be available to police, and it comes along with counterpart driver license that also keep the record of offences over time, and therefore it follows you. And when you are cited again because you have not paid after the 24 hours, the police officer will not let you go, but will arrest you, and it's only the court that can grant bail, because in that case you are being pursued by a warrant of arrest.
And so 5 penalty units is to 60 Ghana cedis.
Yes, that is the minimum.
That is the minimum.
Yes.
What is 5 penalty units?
The 5 penalty one is 12 Ghana cedis.
No, not in terms of amount. In terms of what qualifies me to gain 5 penalty units.
Yeah. When you commit first offence, the offences are 38. When you commit anyone
at all,
we are giving 5 penalty units, 60 Ghana cedis, you go and pay. When you commit the third one, second one, the same 5 penalty unit, you pay. When you commit the third one, the same 5 penalty. But when you commit the fourth one, it means that you are becoming a recalcitrant or a repeat of road offender. So the law says that it should be increased sharply to 120 Ghana cedis. That is 10 penalty units. But when you commit the fifth one, which is the last option for every driver in Ghana, you are punished by issuing you with 15 penalties or 180 Ghana cedis. The sixth one, you are arrested, taken to court, and the court options are limited, including revocation and cancellation of your license, so that you never drive in Ghana. Just stay at home, be passenger.
Is it not too expensive? Hence, people would rather want to go around the block instead of.
No, I think first offense you pay 60 Ghana cedis and not going to court.
And so I'd want to tip 20 cedis.
No. Parliament was, Ghana was smart.
No, and not.
I understand you, but Ghana was
I'm
smart.
a road user. I want to give 20 cedis instead of 50 Ghana.
Ghana was smart that if you allow human beings, this is the collude. Maybe I will do that because maybe we all attended the same school or the same church or whatever, or and all that. So the law is that the police that is bringing this now, the law has assured the police that when you do this work, any spot fine notice you issued, the police, the Motor Traffic and Transport Department
officer,
of which he is part, is entitled to 25% of the value.
I see.
And therefore, I know the Parliament did a very good job knowing that people can do the collude and rob the state of hard-earned currency, therefore, or revenue. Therefore, the police is motivated right from day one. So why do you expect, in addition to monitoring and vigilance from the unit, how do you expect a police officer which is well trained to issue a spot fine will be settling on
for
these
20 Ghana?
I don't think.
Good incentive there. But the pilot has started?
No. We haven't.
When?
Soon.
Soon. The pilot?
Yes. Yeah, still on
thank you very much, DSP Alexander Obey is Director for Training and Research at the Motor Traffic and Transport Department of the Ghana Police Service. And that note will bring a close to today's bulletin, but before we go, a quick recap of our headlines. First Vice National Chairman of the New Patriotic Party to contest the national chairmanship position of the party. On the foreign front, UN Deputy Secretary General urges Kenya and Somalia not to relent in the battle against Somali militant group Al-Shabaab. And my name is Kimini Nyamani Amano. Thanks for watching the Small News on My Joy Online. Goodbye.